I'm Orla and I'm from Ireland and I'm 43 now. And yeah, I have two boys, so I'm mother to two boys. I've been living with endometriosis for most of my life, so about 25 years or so, since it started when I was very young, when I was 14. So from my first period, I was struggling with pain. I probably was quite well for a period of time when I was in my 20s. So I actually had my first son when I was 23, and I think that masked a lot of symptoms for a long time. So obviously I didn't get a period for a while, and then I breastfed him. So in my 20s, I was actually quite well. My periods, either I didn't have them during pregnancy or I was quite well after I had my son. And I was being managed with contraceptive pills. That was working at the time. It was masking symptoms quite well. So I probably had a pretty good experience in my 20s that I didn't have that much pain. But I would have had other issues that I wouldn't have contributed to endometriosis. Like I would have had bowel issues and bladder issues, and I just never, and migraines, like we talked about too, like I would have had those, and I never would have associated that with my menstrual cycle or my pain. After I became pregnant with my youngest son, was my late 20s, and that was a very difficult pregnancy and a very difficult labor, and it was it was very, very difficult at that time. And I would say at that time that it was adenomyosis as well, but I nobody had ever said that to me. But looking back on it now, that's why I think I had a difficult pregnancy and a difficult labor was due to adenomyosis as well. So yeah, so about 25 years or so that suffered with endometriosis. I got my official diagnosis with Dr. Mitroy in 2021. 3 months prior to that, I had been in Ireland with a specialist, and somebody that was here was a gynecologist consultant, and he told me that he had given me a diagnostic laparoscopy, and he told me I didn't have endometriosis, that I just had a fibroid on my bladder, and said that no, I didn't have endometriosis. And that was 3 months before I came to Dr. Mitroy. And when I came to Dr. Mitroy and Dr. Livia, actually first for my MRI, she had told me that I did have endometriosis, and then I also got my diagnosis of adenomyosis as well. I only had one surgery ever in Ireland, a diagnostic lap. Like nobody did anything, nobody removed anything. I had multiple scans over years, transvaginal ultrasounds or MRIs or regular ultrasound, and nobody ever said, I think I had a couple of cysts at one point. They thought I had polycystic ovaries. I met some really good advocates in Ireland at the time. Look, it was like the awareness now has just exploded, but at the time, I suppose I talked to Dr. Mitroy initially. I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago. So prior to my surgery, I talked to him back and forth for a bit. At the time, there wasn't a lot of Irish women traveling there. I had only met one who had traveled to him before me. Who's like a good friend of mine now, so I stay, but I had spoken to her about her experience. I had spoken to a lot of Canadian women that I found through another Facebook group, because they're English speaking, and I could get a real sense of their experiences and how well they were doing. I met another advocate in Ireland, and she had kind of guided me towards the different options, which there aren't a lot of. Certainly at that time, it was really just the UK and Dr. Mitroy. There wasn't a lot of options for us to choose from, unless you to the US as well, which is something that I definitely couldn't afford to do. And so I had checked reviews about Dr. Mitroy on a Facebook group. I had spoken to a lot of Canadian women mostly about him. I talked to my friend who had traveled to him, and it was just really good positive outcomes, but like long-term good outcomes. So over kind of a 2-year mark is what I was looking at. I was looking at the people who were doing well at 2 years, 1 year, 2 year, not just after surgery, because it's hard to tell how they're doing then, but I wanted to see the long-term results. So he had really good long-term results. And then I watched his YouTube channel, Surgeries. If you're into that, like I loved watching surgery and stuff like that. And then I had just spoken with him back and forth and asked him a number of questions, and I think I had booked one initially, and then for personal reasons I had to cancel. But he was very kind about that. And then I contacted him again, and he just always was very, very responsive. So I appreciated that, and he could answer every question that I had. And yeah, I just had really good, and then I just had a good feeling that it was the right decision. I wasn't getting anywhere in Ireland, and it was just over and over and over again, and I was spending money and a fortune, and I wasn't getting any answers. So I just felt like I wasn't living anymore, and I just was like, I'm just gonna do this. Like, I'm just gonna go and try, and there was nothing else I could do anymore. I mean, it's scary, right, to leave your home country and go somewhere. And Romania isn't a country that I knew. Like, it's not a place that I know very well. So there is some anticipation of just like, is this the right thing? And you think in your head, I don't really have endometriosis. Like, it's not that bad. I don't have it. There's no, I'm going to go and he's not going to find anything. You think you're crazy. Obviously that happens for years, so you don't know. But from the very first time that I reached out to book surgery, and I had ended up talking to you, and I had ended up talking to Manuela, everything was just, I was like, this is the most efficient and organized thing I've ever seen. So I had all my appointments. You guys had given me dates for everything, step by step, basically all the preparation stuff. So I had 3 months to plan before I went, because I think I planned it 3 months in advance. So I kind of had time to process all of it, get myself ready, get my head around it. And then he had done all the appointments, so I knew what day I was going for what appointment, what medication I needed for that. When I got there, I think I was there the day before, and I went into the hospital the first day, to have pre-op tests and anesthesiologists and all that kind of stuff. And it was amazing. I felt, and it was during COVID as well, so I needed COVID testing. I couldn't have someone come in with me, so I was completely by myself. But everyone was super, super kind. I think I met Manuela the very first day. And everyone was just amazing. Like, I felt so safe. Everything was so fast. Appointment wise, I was like sat, and then it was up to do one test, blood tests and stuff like that, sit back down, saw the anesthesiologist, who was amazing. And then I think I went into Dr. Mitroy, and yeah, I just went in with questions about him. He gave me my pelvic exam, and I immediately felt safe. Absolutely. Like, I really did. Completely trusted him. I was going for my MRI and stuff like that. I actually even ended up down in cardio there, because the anesthesiologist found something on my ECG, and they sent me to cardio. And I was like, oh my God, where, like, right now? And so I went downstairs, and I had an appointment with your cardiologist at the time, who did find something on my cardio appointment too. So I'm under a cardio team in Ireland now, which they never found here before. So I came home with 3 diagnoses at the time. Like, since I've come home and they took that report from the cardiologist there, I have been monitored since then. But yeah, so I had to get that in Romania too. I went to MRI with Dr. Livia. So that was incredible. Like, she's a superstar. Like, she's amazing. Really felt comfortable in there. Her staff that she had there were incredible. Really felt safe and taken care of. So I took that. She took me out straight away afterwards, showed me everything on the screen, explained everything, said it where it all was, really in-depth detail. And then she called Dr. Mitroy while I was still there, and she said to him the report. And then I think he called me later that evening to kind of go through the surgery and kind of explain different stuff to me, and kind of choices that I needed to make. Because I needed to make a decision on the hysterectomy for the adenomyosis, which was very severe. And I did have to make that decision there, but he was very kind about it. He never pushed me, but he did tell me, it was a huge risk if I kept it. So yeah, definitely everything was explained to me, complete informed consent. It was definitely a relationship of choosing, like, we were making the decision together. He wasn't just making a decision, he was saying what was best for me, but ultimately the decision was still up to me, so I felt very cared for. And yeah, and even the morning of the surgery, all the people who took me down, and the anesthesiologists, and all the OR, the operating theatre staff, just really, I was well taken care of. Yeah, I always felt safe, always. It was, I mean, I did have a refusal of people who wouldn't follow up with me because I chose to go abroad. So I didn't have, I had about 4 gynecologists refuse me. And I haven't been back to a gynecologist actually. My GP monitors me and he's very good and he was very supportive of me going to Romania. He's referred a lot of other people to Romania since then. He's learned a lot and he's very, very supportive. So he monitors me, he gets scans, you know, I ask him for scans. If there was anything I was concerned about, I would send it back to Dr. Mitroy. If I had any future pain or symptoms of endometriosis, I would return back to Romania. I still wouldn't probably do anything in Ireland, you know. So I would still, yeah, if I had any concerns that way. So that's kind of the way I'm monitoring it. But I haven't had any symptoms or any pain or any issues since my surgery almost 5 years ago. So I've texted him since before, you know, with different reports for different things for different people. Like from family members, I've reached out to him, you know, for different things. And he's like, he's looked at it. You could text him anytime or email him anytime and he will answer you. And that's still even today. Like if I emailed him now today, he would still answer me, you know. You'd have to remind him about who you were, but he will, you know, he will say, or you give him like the exact information with all the bullet points, he'll answer that, no problem. Yeah. So he's still like, even today, if I message him, yeah, I absolutely know that I could get a very good response from him, you know. And yeah, it was just, yeah, it was an incredible experience. Yeah, it's totally different. I never thought in 5 years that I would be here. So like I said, almost exactly a year after my surgery in Romania, I returned to third level education and university, and I returned to college. So I never ever would have been able to do that. And I am going to graduate in June of this year. So I graduated for BSc in Public Health Sciences with first class honours. And so it is, yeah, so I never ever would have done that without having my surgery first. And so my life is incredibly different, and I'm able to live it again and do really great things and have new friendships and enjoy my life and enjoy my children and my partner, and yeah, just do all the things that I couldn't do before. Even taking a walk and going to the beach is something that I'm able to do now. So it's been an incredible 5 years, yeah. Stories like this need to be shared because they are so positive, and we know that endometriosis is a lifelong condition and it's something that's chronic and that you have to live with for the rest of your life. But if you find the right team for yourself and for your own case, where you feel supported with a surgeon who has expertise skill for a very long time and does hundreds and hundreds of surgeries, including complex ones every year, it is your very best start to the rest of your life, and it is life-changing. And we have to believe that things will get better, and yeah, that just the BEC team, in my opinion, and from my story, and Dr. Mitroy changed my life in the best way. So you guys have been a huge part of my degree and my joy now, and I can't thank you all enough for everything you did.